Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting of the Wadsworth Planning Commission will please come to order. The first item on our agenda is public participation. I would note we have a public hearing set this evening regarding the planned unit development on Shadow Creek, and anyone in the audience who wishes to address the Planning Commission regarding that project will have the opportunity to do so. We have a couple other items on our agenda, and anyone in the audience representing those projects will also have the opportunity to address the Planning Commission. But if there's anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the Planning Commission on any other appropriate topic, now is the time to do it. Please come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record.
3 minutes.
Yeah, and if depending on how many folks want to speak, I would ask you to keep your comments to a couple minutes.
Mike Papora, my neighbor, and myself, Catherine Miracle, and everyone who is from the villas at Sterling Oaks and Partridge, what we call our Partridge family, raise your hand. You are in opposition to the reserve, the Reimer Reserve. So, Mike, did you want to say anything now? This is our only shot. This is it. Yeah. And then I'll speak up to Mike. You won't come on your hands.
Good evening. My name is Michael Propora. I'm a resident of Wadsworth, living at 1134 Partridge Drive. Appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight regarding the proposed Reimer Reserve Estates development. I must express my strong opposition to this project due to the significant and permanent safety risks associated with building over abandoned mines. Abandoned mines leave behind hidden underground voids that can cause collapse without warning. Such subsidence events can cause severe damage to homes, roads, utilities, and emergency access routes. The resulting ground failure poses not only a financial hardship for homeowners, but also serious threats to life safety. Even if the mines are backfilled, this process offers no guarantee of long-term solution. The complete backfilling of mine voids is rarely feasible, and partial filling can actually create uneven settlement, trapped gas pockets, or redirected groundwater flows. And I'll come back to that in a minute, which may cause increased risk of flooding or further instability. Another major concern involves the mine gases. Included in that are methane and hydrogen sulfide and radon. Methane is a highly explosive at concentrations between 5 and 15%. Hydrogen sulfide is acutely toxic, and that's your rotten egg smelling gas that you only smell for a couple of minutes and you can't smell it anymore because you're dead. Radon is a radioactive gas also known to cause lung cancer. I believe it's the second leading cause of lung cancer in this country. Both hydrogen sulfide and radon can mitigate through fractures, faults, pore spaces, and groundwater pathways. Even in relatively dense rock formations, utility trenches for water, sewer, gas lines can inadvertently become conduits for gas mitigation, introducing these hazards directly into homes. At the intersection of Partridge Drive and Great Oaks, there is an existing drain associated with a natural spring that off-gasses methane, which specifically ties to mines. Any research will tell you that. There is also reoccurring hydrogen sulfide odor in that area. Having personally tested this area, I can confirm the presence of methane, an odorless explosive gas that underscores the environmental instability of this site. While a geotechnical study has reportedly been completed, I strongly urge that an environmental review be conducted for further consideration. This review should include radon and gas mitigation, as well as groundwater analysis to determine the flows that could be altered if the mines are backfilled. And this should be done consistent with the rules of the state of Ohio and the federal EPA. It's also important to note that underground infrastructure such as sewer lines, water mains, and buried utilities will remain vulnerable to shifting soils and subsidence, resulting in long-term maintenance and conduit for gases to travel and liability of costs associated for both the residents and, of course, the city of Wadsworth. In summary, although the land above these abandoned mines may appear stable, the hazards beneath are permanent. Proceeding with residential development in this location would further place families in harm's way and create future liabilities for the community. I respectfully urge the Commission to deny the approval for the Reimer Road Estates project and encourage development in areas that offer safe, stable, and healthy living conditions for all Wadsworth residents. Hope is not a strategy. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you.
Catherine Miracle, 1144 Partridge. High risk. Those are words that are a call for safety as a priority. We've all learned the lessons of Sawwall Lane. Wadsworth does not need another mine collapse. I'm sure there are people who would say that once the mine is filled, it should be safe. But do we really know that? A vote to let this development go through would require 100% certainty that citizens who live near the mine will be safe. The high-risk evaluation from the geotechnical report, without further study, including not conducting a geothermal study, puts our citizens at risk. Consider the environmental risks if digging began. How would it impact the health of the people living near the development site? There's just too much risk for this development to move forward. And I asked the Planning Commission, if you live near the mine and your greatest financial asset and your health could be at risk, how would you want us to vote? Would you want us to protect your greatest asset? Would you want us to protect you from environmental risk? Would you want us to save your property value? It is true. Our lives and our homes are in your hands this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else under public participation, I will move on with the agenda. First item is the minutes of the August 25th meeting. If there's no additions or corrections, there a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes of the August 25th meeting as presented.
Second.
Heard the motion of the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The minutes of the September meeting will be distributed at a later meeting. Moving on under old business, the planned unit development for Vance Farms PUD, general plan, city lots 9850, 10,322 to 10,324 in the Vance Farms PUD zoning district, additional properties applicant.
Addison.
Excuse me. Addison. Excuse me. I did that the last time. Addison Properties. Mr. Kaiser.
Okay, let me pull that one up because that we're going to move to the public hearing, but that's fine. Basically, the applicant this proposal to create a new PUD zoning district for these properties was adopted by council back in June. So the properties this is built on, most of them were in Wadsworth Township. That annexation has already occurred. Part of the property was already in the city. So this entire area was rezoned to Vance Farm PUD, but action on the general development plan was tabled to give there were some issues that needed to be addressed, mainly with public utility extensions, routing and oversizing of various utilities, water line in particular, as well as improvements to the intersection of Smoke Rise Drive and Hartman Road. Those have since been addressed. So just going over the general plan briefly, project consists of 280 total dwelling sites, 92 single-family fee simple lots, 188 townhomes. All fee simple lots are greater than 7,800 square feet. That exceeds the minimum lot area specified in the pre-annexation agreement. Overall project density is roughly 4.5 units an acre. It's less than the maximum 7 units an acre as outlined in the pre-annexation agreement. We've got about 28% of the site, or close to 18 acres, will be common open space. And Most of the streets will be built to public standards. There are 2 private drives that flank either side of Smoke Rise Drive Extension. They're identified as private streets AA and BB. Those will provide access to the townhome units that are located in that particular vicinity. So the general plan is very similar, if not identical, to the pre-annexation development plan. All proposed uses, densities, open space requirements do comply with the PUD and the annexation or the pre-annexation agreement. So there were a couple of issues I'll just bring up, but some of them have since been addressed. One question: the building envelopes for the townhouse units, they're roughly 30 by 50. Just need some clarification. Do those represent the outer edges of the buildings, or will there be some yard area incorporated in those? So, for instance, the building might be 30 by 30 and have a 20-foot rear yard. Also, the townhouses, I think it was 7 through 42 and 61 through 90. They flank on either side of Smoke Rise Drive. My question was, are the fronts of those townhouses going to face Smoke Rise Drive, or would they be the rear of the buildings? I spoke to the applicant this morning. They don't have a a product that you can have a rear entry garage. So the rear of those units would face Smoke Rise Drive. So I think will need to go to the Architectural Design Committee for their review to see what those rear walls look like. Also, we'll need to install some additional landscaping that the ADC is going to have to approve to kind of soften that view. But I just found that out this morning. Sanitary sewer, okay. The property slopes away to the northeast. There will be a lift station constructed. I think that was on page 3 of 5. Actually, it shows up here. You can see the pump station here in the northeast corner. That's going to route everything back down, I think, to a force main in Smoke Rise, and it will eventually connect to the gravity sewer in Laverne. The force main is going to be oversized from 6 to 8 inches. The city engineer states that the oversizing is really not required by the city, so it's not subject to be reimbursed. Public water, on the other hand, a little different matter. The plans do show a 12-inch water main that would be fed to the subdivision from the southeast corner of the site, and that is right now it terminates just south of 76. That would be extended. There is an error, however, on the plans. The water mains should be 16 inches, not 12. Since those lines are an oversized improvement, typical water lines are 8 inches. Cost difference between a 16-inch and an 8-inch line is eligible for reimbursement. City is working with the developer on a tax increment financing agreement that's currently before council that would cover the oversized improvements. In terms of streets, we'll need a little more additional right-of-way on Hartman Road to bring the right-of-way to the standard for, that's an arterial, I believe, with a 96-foot right-of-way. So half width is 48 feet. So some additional land will be given along the this frontage here, the eastern property line. Other traffic improvements, I'll let the applicant address this, but there was concern about traffic at the new intersection of Smoke Rise and Hartman. Traffic impact study has been reviewed by both the city's engineering department as well as county, because some of the improvements and impacts will be within the township, and those portions of the road are under the county engineer's purview. So the proposed alignment, which is just north of the bend, it's really found to meet all the geometric requirements that was addressed in the engineering comments. It will need to be built, it's warranted during Phase 1, so it'll be constructed soon. And the improvements do include a left turn lane onto Hinkle Drive from Smoke Rise, which is just off of this map. Actually, I'm sorry, that the Hinkle Drive improvement is one of those things that are going to be covered by the city because there's already a warrant needed for that. But there will be some turn lanes constructed on the Smoke Rise Hartman intersection. I think that was page 5 of the plans. So let me go down here and see what we've got. I believe we're going to have a left or westbound turn lane onto Smoke Rise Drive from northbound Hartman Road. So again, heading north, there will be a lane created with a dedicated left turn lane. And I think we've also got a similar improvement. Yes, yeah, I think that's the main turn lane. I'm going to have the engineering, the developer's engineer address that. But we have this one that, yes, is a good portion of it is a fair result of this project that'll have to be built. The one that's further off-site to the west at Hinkle and Smoke Rise will be funded through some of the TIF agreements. Within the subdivision itself, there's some geometries here. I think it was on Street C. You can see we've got some bump outs and some tight turning elbows. Our engineering department indicated those might need to be reworked a little bit to make minimum turning radii just to smooth out the traffic flow. Also in terms, there are two cul-de-sacs here, neither of which require any variances. They're both less than 500 feet. I think I've noticed that certain traffic improvements and water improvements are eligible for reimbursement from the city. In terms of the water line, again, coming in from the southwest, and instead of traveling up Hartman Road, it's going to cut into the development and come up Street B, where it then will tie into another 16-inch water line extension coming from Laverne Drive to the west. So it does complete a major water loop within the city's water system. And the reason they chose coming up Route B is, one, to keep from overburdening the developer with redundant expenses. Okay, if we took that main up, that 16-inch main up Hartman, they would have had to still build an 8-inch water line on Street B. The lands in the township are already developed. They're not going to be tying into the water. If they need to, they can easily do another stub that ties into Smoke Rise. So it was felt it was more cost effective, more efficient, also less maintenance expense for the city in the long run by not having to maintain water lines that really are parallel. One on Hartman, which will rarely be tapped, and the one on Street B. So that one on Street B was oversized. Oil and gas wells, I'm not sure how many are here on the property, but those will be abandoned and capped per ODNR requirements. Also, a little clarification, there are some abandoned mines that impact this site. I believe a subsurface investigation was conducted. However, the potential builder who's going to buy these lots from the developers is going to have a full-blown geotech study done, I do believe. And right now, the net results are that those mines are far enough down, they do not anticipate any issues. However, a full report will be turned in with their civil plan reviews. And like we will be talking about in cases that involve underground mines, and in fact, Briarthorn has some that they had to do some mitigation to. There will be certain recommendations for disclosing the mine study, disclosing the fact that there are mines in the area, but referencing the geotech report as part of the HOA documents or as a freestanding document, so that any purchaser is given fair notice. And then it's really up to them whether they want to take a risk or not. So again, that issue is fairly well addressed. Phasing plans, the map was color-coded to show various phases. I would just point out that the infrastructure installation will probably not follow the lot development stages, because if you read the engineering comments, the water line that's coming in from the south, just south of 76 and Hartman Road, that needs to be constructed and looped with the line that would be coming in from Smoke Rise. I think they said in phase 2. So some of these later phases may not be planted until much later, but that particular improvement needs to be in place. So again, a lot of those comments were already addressed by the engineering department. Fire department reviewed this, recommended conditional approval. They had no big issues. I think they indicated an additional hydrant needs constructed at Smoke Rise and Private Drive, AA, somewhere in this vicinity up here. Safety and engine and electric had no issues with the development. Engineering did recommend conditional approval. Again, they have a lot of details that will still need to be addressed as part of the civil plan review. They'll address some of the issues that we've talked about, not only at this meeting, but in previous meetings. And again, for each phase of development, the applicant's going to have the geotech engineer basically provide written acknowledgement that all of the infrastructure for the subdivision has been constructed and deemed to be reasonably safe for residential development. That's ODNR language, and approved by the city engineer. And again, they've also talked about improvements and actions that must be completed, by when they need to be completed, and what can be financially guaranteed. And again, finally, at the end of each development phase, any stormwater detention facilities that are built, we need the as-built drawings for those, other public improvements, and basically a stormwater detention verification. But overall, the plan, I believe, was at least in 4 phases to be developed. Just a few minor details involving the townhouses that need to be approved through the design review committee. And with that in mind, I find that based on the comments, based on the plan, this does basically meet the intent of the general plan for the Vance PUD per their pre-annexation agreement. So I would recommend approval of this general plan with the 7 conditions as noted in the staff report.
Mr. Kaiser, the turn lane on Hartman, is that going to be in before the connection or any
I
of the
believe
phases
that
are
is a
built out?
phase 1 improvement.
Okay, that's a phase 1 improvement.
Yes.
Okay.
So before that phase 1 plan is approved, those particular improvements would need to be made.
And phase 1 is the one closest to Hartman.
Phase 1 are the ones that are kind of in blue. So it's going to basically be bringing
Okay.
Smoke Rise Drive all the way to Hartman.
Yeah.
So yes, so when that road goes in, those turn lane improvements over here, you can see some of the striping that I think is going to show, hey, this is where we're going to relocate the through lane, and then we'll have a dedicated left turn lane onto Smoke Rise Drive. Applicant's engineer might be better able to address those, but yes, those will be in from the get-go.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Kaiser? Is the applicant with us? Would I like to address the planning commission? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Mayor, member of the Planning Commission.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Jason Friedman, Addison Properties, 3401 Enterprise Parkway, Beechwood, Ohio. Mr. Kaiser stole a lot of my thunder. We had a very thorough review of our application for general plan approval and mentioned really most of the items that were raised in the report. We have been working closely with him and as well as primarily with the engineering department. We have a little ways to go. We're going to be submitting our first round of drawings for phase 1 and the infrastructure this week, and we'll continue to work with engineering and various departments on these details. We're happy to answer any questions. My engineer is here if there's a technical question, but again, Mr. Kaiser really addressed all the items in detail.
I don't think we have any questions.
Did you want some clarification? Just maybe have your engineer come up and have some clarification on that turn lane, and just want to make sure, it sounds like it's a dedicated one going north, going on to...
Sure, happy to have
Yeah,
him come
okay.
explain
Thank
how
you.
to...
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Schmidt with Davie Resource Group, 1310 Sharon Copley Road, Sharon Center. So you are correct. It's a northbound. As you're going northbound, there's a left turn lane to go into the development. So the road will be widened slightly. There'll be a through lane going north, through lane going south, and then a left turn lane northbound going west, coming up on Hartman Road. So.
And then also the smoke rise, or the, when it connects to Hinkle, I should say.
So part of the traffic study was there is an improvement that needs to be made there, but that's not part of what we're required to do for this project. Since it's not within the project boundaries, it's north and west of the project. So that's Hinkle and Reimer. So that was part of the report.
Okay.
But the recommendation by the engineering department was that there were no improvements that needed to be made now.
I think it's one of those improvements that the conditions are already there, warranted, so this development isn't the one that triggered it. So it's one of those that would have to be funded by, other mechanisms, one of which would be some of the impact fees that will be collected on new developments for traffic.
But what would be the timing of that?
That I don't know. I'd have to talk to our engineering department, but probably about the same time. Again, they're also looking at potential improvements for Reimer and High Street as well. And so I think that whole corridor would be looked at as a whole. So any improvements to Smoke Rise Hinkle would probably be in the same time period as Smoke Rise High State improvements.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are recommendations. We don't have a full house tonight.
I was going to say, that's the problem, is we don't have a full house. Normally, we have a few more here.
So,
Timing-wise, is I know that they're still discussing at the council with the...
I don't know the process, but I know that the TIF agreements before council, it requires a public hearing and several meetings, so...
I can address that. We've completed all of the zoning approvals necessary and approved by council. We have had 3 readings, I believe, of the TIF agreement. It will be in for public hearing next week, and then we'll have 2 more readings after. Total of 6 readings as a result of the notices, which are 30-day notices. That's why. But that's the last piece, is the TIF agreement, which has been negotiated and needs to just get through the process. But otherwise, the zoning is all complete, and this is the general plan with the details, primarily clarifying the Smoke Rise Hartman intersection. That's what needed to be really worked out with engineering.
So we have some time, I think, is what I was saying.
Yeah, I know we're a little shorthanded, and typically, we want at least 4 people present. I think you could table it. We would still have more than enough time at either the next meeting or a special meeting to get extra member here, get it approved before it's out of council. If that's
Okay, motion to table.
I make a motion that we table it at this time, and then we'll address it at the next Planning Commission.
Second?
Heard the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Yeah,
Motion
I
carries.
think we can keep this moving rather quickly, so. I expect
Okay. Yeah,
it
and
will
I
be
think
by
you
the next
mentioned we
meeting.
could have a special meeting for this.
Yep, and if
this
we
one,
do, yes,
if they
we'll
get it
hold
all-
a special meeting and get
Get all
you
your
taken
ducks in
care
a
of.
row. We could have a special meeting before the next scheduled meeting.
When is the next scheduled meeting?
Next scheduled meeting is November 27th. I may not
No,
be-
October 27th.
I'm sorry, October 27th. However, I'm scheduled to be gone for like the 7 or 10 days prior to that.
Would
We
we
think we're
need to-
looking at maybe Wednesday, the 29th to sometime early, like November 4th or 5th, after
That
election.
shouldn't be a problem with our timing.
Okay,
We'll just
okay,
keep things moving forward.
okay, good, thank you. All right, moving on to our next item, which is a public hearing set for 7 p.m. for planned unit development, Shadow Creek PUD, city lots 10,232 through 10,235, Reimer Road in the low-density residential and R1 zoning districts. Mr. Kaiser.
Okay, this is a proposal to create a new planned unit development zoning district for the 4 lots you just mentioned. And those 4 lots total 81 acres. The eastern portion is zoned LDR. The central and western portions are zoned R1. And what they would like to do is change the zoning, get rid of R1, get rid of LDR, create a Shadow Creek PUD, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but it'll spell out various housing types, lot sizes, et cetera. As proposed, they've got 81 acres of land. The plan would create an open space subdivision of 241 dwelling lots, various sizes, typically between about 6,600 square feet and 18,000 square feet, plus some townhouse units. I'm going to ask the applicant maybe put your plan up there because I just downloaded the zoning map. Forgot to include this one. So, looking at the plan, actually, I'm going to put it north facing up. That's how I oriented everything. So, here's where Shepperton Drive currently stops, and you can see it will flow through the center with the public streets and connect to Reimer Road right across from one of the entrances to the Redwood Apartments. So this plan, they've indicated that there's going to be 3 basic house styles for this development. They've identified them as estate lots. Those are the larger ones, typically over 11,000 square feet. Cluster lots, both age restricted and market. And those are the ones between roughly 66 or 5,500 square feet and 11,000 square feet. Plus, to the west, some townhouse units. So this PUD is similar in style and density to both Tiburon-Trace and Blooming Acres. They were developed under the older PUD regulations. The one big difference is that this particular project includes a phase of townhouse units. So again, exclusive of those townhouses, lot sizes are, there we go, roughly 6,050 square feet to over 16,000 square feet. The townhouse sites and smaller cluster lots are found near the south and west sections of the property And then density decreases, lot sizes increases, open space increases as you move to the north and west. And again, to the west and south, the site abuts properties that are in the R2 and R3 zoning districts. They contain apartments, nursing care facilities, churches, similar uses. Just catty corner from that site is the Home Depot and Walmart site. And again, directly south is the apartments that are roughly 5.5 to 6 units an acre. So I think the plan really takes into account its existing surroundings and builds out accordingly. So the PUD process, there's 3 major components. One is to establish the boundaries of the district. 2, establish the code or zoning text that's going to apply to this PUD district. And then create a general plan for the development. And that general plan also serves as the preliminary plat. So because the new process does involve, it does create a new zoning district. It's a zoning map amendment. Therefore, Planning Commission will serve in an advisory capacity to the City Council, who will ultimately act on this proposal. So the PUD boundaries, looking at the comprehensive plan as well as our annexation policy, the property is located in kind of a new growth character area. It's located, and I believe I gave you handouts showing several pages from our comp plan and the annexation policy that show it's kind of right in that area where there are a mixing of uses. The long and short is that it does indicate that residential uses ranging from 2 to 4 units an acre are appropriate in this area, and the use of cluster lots and PUDs is also appropriate. And again, looking at the plan, the reason they're using the open space or PUD is because there are certain water courses, certain environmental conditions and slopes where we need to keep the developments, away from those. And I think they've done that. So looking at the PUD zoning text as proposed by the applicant, the permitted uses are strictly single-family detached and attached dwellings. Again, mentioned 241. Under their current zoning, I think it can get up to 273. So the maximum allowable density is roughly 3.78 units, and they are showing roughly 3.5. And that's based on that's the net acreage, net units per acre. Overall, 2.94 units per acre, which is similar in character to other developments in the area. Again, as I had mentioned, there will be a total of 241 total dwelling sites. 273 is currently permitted under the existing zone, or the existing zoning classifications. HOA requirements, there will be one created to maintain the open space and any additional common elements. The yard area and setback requirements, again, as a PUD, those are subject to change. They are basically proposed by the applicant and then approved by Planning Commission and Council. They are consistent with what has been approved in other PUDs in the neighborhood. But I would suggest that the applicant modify the plan and put a table on there that shows the various lots and what the setback information would be for each of those particular lots. I believe, trying to think back, I think maybe it was Weatherstone subdivision, even one predating that. Those charts were included. It makes it easy for people to understand what they're buying, what they're allowed to do with their lot. It's also easier to administer, but you can just go to that preliminary plat and and see exactly, what you're proposing, does it meet these requirements? So I think that's just one minor change, but in terms of open space, they've got more than 25 acres. Most of it's going to be used for passive open space. It's going to protect and buffer water courses, wetlands, be used for some stormwater management purposes. I believe there is an existing barn near the east property line that the applicants indicated they're looking to repurpose as a community building. Design standards, at this point, none have been developed for any of the dwelling units. So basically, they just need to show that we're going to comply with the general provisions in the PUD regulations. Keep the buildings facing the front, pitched roofs, try and have adequate number of windows and proper window spacing at this time. They may add something here in the future. In terms of, there's other special regulations. Accessory structures and fences are going to be governed by the CCRs and HOA documents. Right now, the applicants indicated that setbacks for any accessory structures on the fee simple lots would be established at 3 feet. Typically, we require a 5-foot offset. But these lots, in many cases, being smaller, a 3-foot setback would be probably appropriate, because you can see many of the lots do abut open space. So I think impacts would be minimal. In terms of the townhouses, again, like in the last case, I'd suggested before they're constructed, we see some type of design and what the particular townhouses would look like. Same thing, is the townhouse pad is it going to encompass the entire building, or will there be some open space or yard area for each of the unit owners, to be able to have their own private yards? Again, with the exception of the townhouses, the dwellings, the fee simple lots, pretty much similar to Tiburon Trace and Blooming Acres lots. In terms of general development plan, looks like the plan is proposed to be constructed in 6 phases. Development would start at the southwest portion of the site and develop to the north and northeast. However, as in the last case, we might have a little bit of a difference in phasing for the infrastructure improvements versus the actual lot development. And the reason for that is that the sanitary sewer that this development would tie into is located at the south end of Shepperton, at the Shepperton Road stub. That was identified even in the 2019 annexation policy because of the slope, the land falls off to the north and to the east. Primer Road sits a little bit higher. It has always been anticipated for the sanitary sewer to tie into that system. It then makes its way through the development to the lift station on State Road and ultimately back into the gravity sewer. Again, all of the roads will be developed to private standards except for the public street that's going to serve the 35 townhouse units. And again, the street system itself does interconnect, as is required by our subdivision regulations. The plan as shown here is very similar to what they showed council back in 2002 when they were planning to annex. If you also noted too, one of the things we recommended that they address, and they did take care of in here, is there's not a real direct straight shot from Shepperton down to Rhino. Okay? We didn't want to create just one street stub that could be kind of like Summit Street, where it's a nice straight mile-long street with very few things to slow traffic. So the Shepperton Drive does curve. it turns into another street, which ultimately makes another turn before coming out onto Reimer Road. So I think it does provide the interconnectivity required by the city's zoning or the subdivision regulations, but it does so to make it inconvenient for shortcutting. Also, I'd suggest that if there's going to be any shortcutting, it's going to be more folks from the north coming through this subdivision to come in the back entrances to the Walmart and Home Depot, which are just at the southwest corner of that site. And then I think that's about it. The lot sizes are typically what we would find. In this case, they range from about 6,600 square feet to over 18,000 square feet. And in terms, I'm going to try and pull up the staff report, which has a table comparing this potential project to both Blooming Acres and Tiburon Trace. So Blooming Acres, the net density is 3.5 units an acre. Tiburon Trace, 2.5 units. This one, 3.5. In terms of gross density, which is after you take away the right-of-way that's going into the public streets, pretty much all three are fairly similar. 2.9 units at Blooming Acres, 2.1 at Tiburon, 2.94 here. And again, if you look at the maximum allowable units, all developments are less than what they could get as part of a standard development project. Again, as I mentioned, the general plan is very similar to the concept plan that was presented to council in 2022. However, there are a few other site development issues that I think we should have the public hearing, but table action to get some additional feedback. One, we've distributed copies of this plan to other review agencies. Don't have all of those comments back. Particularly, the engineering department noted that the initial traffic impact study, there were some questions that our reviewers had. I believe a revised study was just submitted either Friday or today. So that needs to be looked at and addressed, because that may have an impact on off-street improvements, particularly at Reimer Road, whether or not there might be some dedicated turn lane needed, such as the one, on Hartman Road, as part of the other project. And then too, I'd suggest the scale of this plan is like at 1 to 80 scale. Typically 1 to 60 is a good engineering scale. But I would want them to add back the table regarding lots, various setbacks, so that it can all be referenced in one place. But overall, I don't have any concerns with the proposed Shadow Creek zoning map or the text provisions. And again, the general plan is very similar to what we've seen and been aware of for the last 2 or 3 years. But again, I think we need to get some more information regarding the traffic impact study, see what else engineering has to say about some of the other infrastructure before moving forward.
All right, any questions for Mr. Kaiser? Let's see if we have any sign-ins. All right, at this time, I will open the public hearing. If anyone signed in, I will call on them first, and then I want to ask the developer if you'd please make a few comments, if you have any comments to make first.
Maybe, Jeff, if I'll have you move just so we can see them.
Bill Sanderson, representing DP Watts Development, Palmieri Builders, 5601 Richmond Road, Bedford Heights. Thank you again for the opportunity to meet with you. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. We've been working together on this for quite a while. As you're probably aware, we came in, annexed the property without an annexation agreement or any real requirements. So we've tried to take the approach of working with the city to develop the best plan for both us and our customers and your future residents, and I think we're getting close to achieving that. Just a couple of quick clarifications. As Mr. Kaiser said, we have met with all of the departments before we started the process. And out of that meeting, we got some feedback from fire that they wanted to make sure that we made connections and looped and had a certain phasing plan. Also with public utilities to make sure that the sequencing of the utilities enhanced the service to the rest of the Wadsworth utilities and not had any detrimental effect to it. The other thing we wanted to accomplish was the way the properties were combined, they ran north and south. So the initial zoning was lower density to the east and higher density coming to the west. But it ignored the fact that Reimer Road actually kind of sets the density where the apartments are on the south side of Reimer Road, and then Tiburon, and going north, the density actually decreased. So part of what we tried to do with our approach, and part of the reason why we wanted to go with the PUD, is because it makes it easier to do this in a way that makes sense. And that is to basically have the higher density front the existing higher density. And then as we move up towards the lesser density and more open space, so that we're zoning this way instead of this way. And I think, again, through a lot of hard work with Jeff and his team and the engineer and several others, we feel like we're close to that. I did want to make a couple of just quick minor corrections. I did make an error on our application, as Jeff noted in his notes to you, and the net density is 2.92 units per acre, and that's what's shown on the plan. It's just dyslexic or something. Also, the homes in yellow will be age targeted, not age restricted, but the requirements will be that they have a first floor master and that maintenance is included. So essentially that eliminates a lot of rigmarole with having basketball hoops and all that kind of stuff. So those are going to be homes that are going to be primarily targeted towards people that want a maintenance-free or limited maintenance lifestyle. The blue, as Jeff said, is more of a smaller single-family lot, and then the purple are the larger estate lots, which we've obviously situated close to the common area or the open space to maximize the value of those lots and also to follow that zoning hierarchy. So what that means practically is there'll be a master association for the maintenance of the overall common space and stormwater ponds and stuff like that. But there will be sub-associations, and those sub-association for the cluster homes will then be responsible for the mowing the grass and plowing the snow and stuff like that. So just a quick clarification on that. And then the barn is right here. It's the former garage on the Crisplet property. If you've seen it, you know it's not really a barn. It's like the garage mahal of barns. It's a beautiful, large brick structure, and we'll just recycle that and repurpose it for a community center. Wouldn't be necessarily large enough for everybody to get out there and have a hootenanny in, but it certainly would be large enough to have some community events. People want to have parties, association, maybe even farmers market, something like that, all programmed and controlled by the homeowners association. All the residents that live at Shadow Creek will be required to join the association, and that will support the maintenance of that. To just a quick address to one of Jeff's comments in the written comments to you, we are not really asking for any lot variances, but we do have some situations that we discussed in our planning that the way we've presented it in our request and in our language clarifies some things. The first is on corner lots like these, the desire is to limit the garage or the driveways to come to the front. So we situated those lots and asked for the setbacks to basically conform to that so that the driveways come to the front so we don't get a bunch of driveways shooting off to the side. Likewise, on some of these lots here, we drop back to a 35-foot setback, which is still within the requirements, but it's different than some of the other lots. Again, the reasoning is those are cluster lots. There's going to be maintenance. We don't want a super large lot. There can't be, basketball hoops and trampolines. It's not really that kind of thing. So there won't be any accessory structures. So we think that that's appropriate for what we're trying to do. And again, I want to thank you all very much for all the hard work, for your team, the city that represents you well, and I will certainly stand for any questions after public comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Or if you have any questions.
Don't think so at this time. Okay, thank you. All right, now I'm going to open the public hearing. I have two people that signed in as opponents. I will call on them if anyone else in the audience wishes to address the Planning Commission. After that, you'll come forward to the podium and give us your name and address. First name I have is Utakic. My apologies.
Good day. Good evening. Terry Lataki, 1447 Shepperton Drive, and yes, I am at the end of the road. So I have a little concern about no buffer zone. The two lots that they have at the end of Shepperton look like they belong to Tiburon more than they do to Shadow Creek. You can see the big spacing that they have developed around that whole area. We don't understand why those lots need to be there when more of a buffer zone all the way around would be better. And I know the church is going to address this also. The other concern is traffic. And as Jeff said, yes, there may be some Tiburons going through, but we're more concerned that with the layout of that bottom road, majority of those people are going to come through our development to head north. There's probably going to be more people going north as opposed to going to Reimer to go north because of the lack of, let's say, the circle that a lot of us are looking forward to. The traffic is going to be terrible there, especially with that other north development going in there at Hartman. We think that area is going to be really congested. So that's, I'm also here as part of the HOA. I am the president. So Tiburon does have a concern with extra traffic, being that there's only one exit on Reimer, whereas we have two. Even Blooming Acres, in a sense, has three because they connect to us twice. So just a concern of traffic flow and buffer zone. Because the worst thing is to have two competing developments next to each other. Blooming Acres, I don't know if that was something you guys worked out, but they have a buffer zone all the way around, so nobody is next to each other with Blooming Acres and Tiburon. So those are my concerns.
Okay, all right, thank you. The other name I have is Gary Kissling.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Gary Kissling. I'm here on behalf of the chapel in Wadsworth that sits on 1391 State Road. We're an adjoining landowner just to the west of this development.
Thank you.
And I have to apologize. I've been to the doctor, but I'm still not well. So I'm losing my voice and I've lost my hearing. So please speak up if you have to ask me a question. Yes, our concerns are primarily the existence of the PUD the common areas, the lots adjacent to our property. And traffic and sewer, I think, is something you need to consider on this, but that's, as an adjoining landowner, that's not something we're really concerned about other than if it affects our sewers. About 2 years ago, there was a move to annex this property and request that it be R1 and R2. And now 2 years later, they're asking that it be a PUD. And I understand that's a growing trend. And the basis behind the PUD, as I understand it, is to provide more homes for people, but as a trade-off for putting more homes into a smaller space, you're supposed to have an adequate open area for the residents to enjoy. The ordinance says that the common space, the open space, is to be accessible to all the residents of the PUD and shall be designed primarily for their use. And if you listen to the figures and you look at the picture, you look at this, it looks like there's a lot of green area here. If you look at more closely, most of it, what appears to be most of it, is wetlands, which couldn't be developed anyway, and retention basins for stormwater, which is hardly a suitable place for recreational use for tenants. Now, if you look at their figures, they've got 25,000 acres of, not 25,000 acres.
Yeah, just 25.
25 acres of open
25
space.
acres.
Yeah.
25 acres of open space. And they're, the requirement 17 something, and so they're ahead by 7. But if you take out the catch basins for all the stormwater, I don't think they're up to the amount. Now, I'm not an engineer, so I'm not able to figure the size of each one of these catch basins. But if you look at them on the diagram, I think you'll see that certainly down and the wetlands compose about half of all the green space that they have. And the catch basins appear to be about a quarter of the green space of everything that they have. So we're concerned about that. There's a lack of common space here, which is supposed to be provided to accommodate for the fact that they're putting in more dense housing. I noticed also phase 5 involves 3 family dwellings. They're townhouses, but they're stuck together. So 3 of them. And the zoning ordinances, that qualifies as a 3-family dwelling. And for R1, they're only allowed to have a 2-family dwelling. Getting to the area here, the clustered homes that adjoin our property, I think I spoke about, excuse me, the trees a couple of years ago. Now, this is all forest, or what? We preserved ours. We have a walking trail in there. Anybody can use it. We don't care. It's, we give access to all of our neighbors to that. We don't have a trail adjoining here. If they would like it, we could do that. Our concern is these homes are abutting our property. Typically, what I've got some experience with another PUD that adjoins, that has common spaces, it's woods. And what happens is people dump their grass clippings, and they dump their leaves, and they dump some of their trash and their compost into the woods. And the woods are going to be dumping it, and it's going to be our woods. It's not just an aesthetic matter, it attracts rodents, which is a health problem for the people living here. It's a tree and vegetation problem for us because when you dump compost, grass clippings and leaves into a forest in big piles, the nitrogen content of the soil rises to a level that it can kill the trees, and it kills the surrounding bushes also. So they haven't put, as part of the design that they're going to have their residents dump stuff in our woods, but human nature being what it is, that's what's going to happen. A buffer, if they had a buffer full of trees here, they could dump it in their own trees and not ours. Is there anything we could do about that? But those are the main concerns that we have. And I would just ask you really look at that really carefully in terms of, is there adequate open space here for these people? Because they're giving up, this was LDR and R1, and that's what it is now.
Yeah.
The city is giving up that low-density housing for this more crowded housing, and there should be adequate green space being provided by the developer to make up for it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
You're done? All right. Thank
Did you have a question?
No, I don't believe so. All right. Anyone else in the audience who would address the Planning Commission regarding this public hearing?
My name was on the list, but I scratched it out because I got confused. My name, again, for the record, is Michael Purpura. I reside at 1134 Partridge Drive in Wadsworth. I work for a major utility, AT&T. At AT&T for about 12 years, I was the guy considered the SME, subject matter expert for work area protection for all of AT&T across 50 states. I dealt with road traffic for years. Luckily, now I have a new job and my blood pressure has dropped. In that time at AT&T, I have seen crazy stuff. I served as expert witness. I've been deposed, all of that with placement of utilities. The pole's too close to the intersection. Somebody hit it. We're dragged into court. Michael, what do you think? I get deposed. I go through all of that. Sitting in this meeting this evening, there are 3 developments under consideration by this commission. I'm not saying yes or no, whatever. It's your decision. You have a big decision. Citizens of Wadsworth believe in you, elected officials, appointed officials, you've got a job to do. But at the end of the day, all of that development at that end of town is a recipe for disaster. There is no conceivable way, with the roads being what they are now today, that it will be handled. We can talk about turn lanes. I can tell you turn lanes don't work. It creates more of an aggravation and rear-end collision situation, especially when they're on curves. That infrastructure on Reimer Road, it's been that way since I've been coming here as a kid. It hasn't changed. It's 2 lanes. You got a stop sign down there at Hartman. It's not going to work. There is no way that it can handle the traffic. Even with the churches in the area, and everybody should go to church. You come up on Reimer Road, right there to 97, on a Sunday, and you sit at a stop sign and you wait to go left. You can't get out. Then you take that chance and you go. Well, sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. Your police reports could bear that out. But at the end of the day, those roads are not built for that. We've got large commercial areas there with Walmart restaurants and whatnot. The Wadsworth police, believe me, I see them out there, they do the best they can. They're not enough. They're going to be really busy in that end of the woods trying to separate the accidents and look at the infrastructure. I just believe that this committee or commission needs to really take a strong look at the traffic and engineering study. When we watch them on Wadsworth do a traffic study, you guys got a little clipboard. Gosh, there goes a car. Well, that's fine. You're counting cars going up and down Reimer, but what is going on?
Please wrap up your comments, please.
What is going on at the intersection? What kind of traffic congestion, what kind of traffic flow? My last parting statement there is, look at the city of Greene and all the roundabouts and what they had to do to the expansion there, because that just became a quagmire, bogged down in traffic. And citizens of Wadsworth need the smooth traffic flow and a smooth traffic pattern. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience under public or under the public hearing regarding this project? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. We have a recommendation from staff to table this to work out some more details. Mr. Kaiser?
Yeah, I just want to clarify a few things that were said that are not quite accurate. One is that the purpose of the PUD is to create denser housing. Not true. The density of this is no higher than what it would be allowed under its current R1 and LDR. PUDs change the development pattern, okay? You trade smaller lots, and in return you get a certain amount of open space. So you direct development to where it's more appropriate, keep it off of areas where it's not. And like I said, in terms of comparing this to the other two subdivisions or PUDs in the area, it's very, very similar, okay? And I think I even mentioned, and it's on the report, that if they develop this, given the current zoning, they could have up to 273 units. They're proposing 241. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And the open space can be used for a number of things, which includes stormwater management, okay? In standard subdivisions in the past, the problem we have encountered is that a detention basin would be on a privately owned lot. And the owner of the property either wouldn't maintain it, or a lot of times they'd say, hey, I don't like this dip in my yard, I'm gonna fill it in. And they unwittingly make some improvements, thereby negating the whole purpose of the storm basin in the first place. PUD regulations actually made that part easier, to try and move these subdivision-wide improvements, even some of the utilities, move them to the open space where they're not going to interfere with housing sites. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that it's not, there's no density bonuses truly in a PUD, and the proposed density is what within the range of what the comprehensive plan and annexation policies recommend. So I just wanted to clarify that. But there are some other issues that we need to kind of tweak on the plan, have the traffic study reviewed, and then get back with recommendations.
Okay. Is there a motion to table this to our next meeting?
Yeah. Want a motion?
Yeah.
We'll make a motion to, given public hearing, but also obviously having several questions that we still have, I'll make a motion to table this till the next meeting.
I second.
Heard the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. We have a preliminary plat for Reimer Reserve Subdivision, city lots 7043, 7044, and 9197 on Reimer Road in the R1 zoning district. R1 zoning district. Mr. Kaiser.
Okay, this proposal is for a 25-lot subdivision on roughly 13.1 acres. The site is directly south of Weatherstone, the Weatherstone PUD. It abuts Partridge Drive on the east, and it's just northeast of the Sterling Oak condos. I'm going to see if I can zoom into that section. I can overshot it. So yeah, so here we go. It's this property right here that I'm circling, so you can see the other surroundings. In terms of the development features, all of the lots meet the R1 district standards. There are some cul-de-sac lots that I think we need to have a little more information as to the width of the building line, because at the building line they need to be 50 feet, and that just isn't called out. So there's a couple additions. There's also 2 blocks of land on this this property that would be owned by the HOA. Looks like they're going to be used primarily for stormwater management. Block A is here to the west, is here on the west side of the property. It's adjacent to the site that has the large lake. Block B is down here, also would have additional stormwater management basin which would flow to its existing outlet point. All lots are off of a single street, and a couple of variances are required to the subdivision regulations. One is to the cul-de-sac length, which exceeds 500 feet. I think it's 970 feet, actually. And then there's a provision for block length, okay? And it says, well, block length should not be less than 500 feet. Well, property's developed on all three sides. The nearest street here is Partridge and Reimer. That's about 375 feet away. So, and again, since there's no outlet and the elevation, you can see from some of the grading here, the site is much higher than Sterling Oaks. There's no way for this street to connect to anything else. So I think the variances to the subregs are warranted. Fire chief looked at this and has no issues with 25 lots on a single this single cul-de-sac street. Another minor item is additional, and I think it's shown here. Yeah, they are dedicating additional right-of-way width to Reimer Road to bring it to the half-width standards, 48 feet for a collector. 8-inch water line would be installed and hydrants spaced appropriately to serve the project. I think fire department had no issues with that. In terms of sanitary sewer for the development, there are two options. And I don't think the applicant has made a decision on either option at this point, although I think they're leaning towards option number 2. Option 1 would be to install a lift station, which would pump sewage back up to the gravity and main, the gravity main in Reimer Road, and then would fall to the east and follow the sanitary sewer system, eventually heading, I believe, to Great Oaks Trail and then down south of the highway to the sewage treatment plant. The other shorter option is to work with the neighboring property owners to the south, that's the Sterling Oaks Villas, because they have a private storm sewer that is within 50, 60 feet of the south property line. That sanitary line could be gravity fed across sublot 14 through block B and connect with their system, and it ultimately heads south to Great Oaks Trail and ties in where the route from the north would come. So they all end up in the same location, just coming from different directions. I think the second option is probably the most cost-effective. Applicant can discuss that. And again, I mentioned the stormwater basins are proposed on blocks A and B. The basins naturally drain to the south and west. What was indicated is the applicant may need to acquire easements from the neighboring property owners. It's basically, Sterling Oaks Villas. And that really depends on how they manage the stormwater systems. If they're going to increase the rate of discharge from this property, then they would need some agreements to increase runoff faster than pre-flow developments. If they oversize the basins and discharge it at the same rate as it discharges now, those easements aren't needed. That's mainly a technical issue, and engineering is aware of that, and that would have to be addressed as part of their review. Rest of this report, I'm going to spend a lot of time on the abandoned coal mines. We are aware that there are coal mines that affect this lot, as they affect many of the lots in the general vicinity. So let me pull this up. I've got a few maps in here. Someplace. Okay. So again, we know that a portion of the site's located over abandoned coal mines. The geotech report indicates that, yes, here at the north, the shaded area are abandoned mines, and here to the south. So it affects 5 to 7 of the potential lots. And the geotech report did indicate that the risk of subsidence in these areas is high. The study also recommended ways to stabilize the areas beneath the roadway and the building sites in these regions, basically to do some ground filling and grouting that was done at the one issue up on Salwa. Briarthorn is doing the same on a couple of the building sites within their development. The study also recommended additional borings and probes to be basically to verify that the underground mine isn't present below some of the home locations. Obviously, we have some mines here, so it's likely that the building pad would be located over an abandoned mine, but also to just check, some of these other lots. I assume the recommendation applies to the entire project sites and not just the lots that we know are impacted. Another option would be for the applicant to present a smaller cluster-style subdivision. Probably wouldn't look a whole lot different than this, bring the road in, but make the lots a little bit smaller, more cluster-style, so that all of the building sites are kept outside of the known mine areas. Again, that's the developer's choice as to how to proceed. I don't think the testing results, conclusions, or recommendations from the geotech were unusual or unexpected. Again, this map is also in the geotech report, and it just shows the existing mines in the general vicinity. So we can see that the central part of Weatherstone is under mines. Some mines around south of that, but it affects part of Weatherstone as well as the Weatherstone Park area. Looks like it's the same potential seam that's hitting the north end of this site. To the south, you can see that that particular mine area also affects pretty much the southern half of Partridge Drive, some of the sites along Great Oaks Trail as well. Another potential impact here near the Deepwood and Great Oaks condos. So again, this development's not a whole lot different than other things that have been developed in this area. And I think, again, it could be platted and create building sites incorporating the geotech reports or that geotech engineer's recommendations for stabilization. Again, the other option would be a cluster-style development. But regarding these mine issues, they were looked at in detail by not only us, but our engineering staff. And assuming the applicant wants to stick with this particular development pattern, the standard subdivision, they recommended a few activities that should be taken and when those activities should be taken. So prior to civil plan approval, the applicant would need to obtain a written opinion from the geotech engineer as to whether additional investigation and stabilization measures are warranted. If additional measures are warranted, that statement should include time frame, what needs to be done and when. Prior to construction, the geotech engineer should acknowledge that the infrastructure design for the subdivision, streets, utilities, included any mine stabilization and other measures that are deemed necessary to meet ODNR's reasonably safe standard for residential development. And that acknowledgement should be approved by the city engineer. So they need to explain what they found, what was done, why it was done, or if nothing was done at a particular site or location, why not? What's the rationale there? And then post-construction or and before final plat approval, basically the stabilization measures deemed warranted need to be undertaken. The geotech engineer needs to basically sign off, certifying that those measures were taken, and that, again, it complies with ODNR standards for reasonably safe for residential development. Again, I think there was some comment made earlier that we need a 100% guarantee that it's going to be safe. Well, that can't be done. And again, occasionally we have these, we have these issues, but there's no one that's going to certify that everything's 100% safe. And even ODNR suggests standard is what they deem reasonably safe. Few other site plan issues. This drawing's not too, the larger drawing gets a little confusing. Applicant needs to use some different line weights to distinguish between lot lines, various utilities, grading, etc., as well as some easements. So there's a couple oddball things like this, this area between sublots 18 and 19. I'm not sure what that means, what that's supposed to represent. Same here on lot 14. There looks like there's a proposed sanitary easement, but they're using the same line weights as what they're using for the property lines. So I don't know whether that easement is on sublot 14, it bisects sublot 14, or some of the area to the west is one of the open space blocks. Again, I think we also need to add some dimensional requirements to make sure that all of the lots meet the zoning requirements. Any public easement outside of a public right-of-way needs to be within an easement, and I think they are showing that, but again, need some clarification and consistency as to how those are identified. And then finally, both the preliminary and final plats should incorporate a statement that basically discloses that there are underground mines in the area, make a recommendation for obtaining mine subsidence insurance, and in addition, the geotechnical report should be recorded along with the plat and make reference to, the plat should make reference to that study so that any purchaser is fully disclosed that they may be purchasing a lot that is built over an abandoned mine. Looking at the other review agency comments, fire department had no issues with the subdivision as a whole, no issues with hydrant spacing or the water service. Engineering department did recommend conditional approval. Again, the big issue to be addressed are all of the issues surrounding the mines and what the geotech will need to provide to give us the confidence that everything has been designed to meet the reasonably safe standard for ODNR. They'll also need to explain to the engineering department which sanitary sewer system they're going to adopt. Is it going to be the lift station heading north, or have they sufficiently worked things through with the Sterling Oaks to tie into their sewer? Would be a benefit, I think, to both of them, because it would take some of the maintenance responsibility for that sewer off of Great Oaks, off of the Sterling Oaks Association and spread it among more units. But other than that, all of the other engineering comments were pretty much standard for these types of subdivisions. And staff does recommend approval of the variances to the cul-de-sac length and block spacing as proposed. There's really no other way for a road to get in here without those two variances. And then approve the subdivision with the 5 conditions noted in the staff report. And again, you notice that those conditions all make reference to the engineering comments regarding the mine issues and various acknowledgments and subsurface mitigation that would need to take place. So that's really all I have at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Kaiser?
No, I guess I do have some comments or some thoughts, just because we heard some comments from the individuals that attended here. So one thing that was brought up was the gases, and to perhaps have a geothermal study of the gases. And I had not heard that particular concern before?
That's nothing that's ever been required by us before. We don't require anything that Ohio EPA might be involved with. They may be involved, but it's not something that the city, that we have at our level. It's,
Who would anybody, I mean, like on,
that's, I don't know. That would probably be up to Ohio EPA or Department of Natural Resources. Methane being a gas, I know DNR handles natural gas. I don't know what their requirements would be, but it's nothing in the city's development regulations that would require that.
So, if the residents have expressed a concern, I mean, do we just ignore that, or is there some way
Well,
to
I don't know if you
get somebody in the
ignore it,
loop?
but sometimes they bring up concerns, but there's nothing we ourselves
Well, I
can
understand
do.
that. I mean, do we need to invite somebody else from the outside into this, to look into this?
I would suggest we table it. I'll talk to Glenn Davis, the city engineer, when he returns from vacation. But again, we're expanding our authority outside
Okay.
of where
Well, that's
we
fine.
belong.
I think that's my question
Yeah.
is do we have the authority to require something like that? Or to, at least I'm just curious, I'd like to have some
And I'm not
additional
gonna, yeah,
information.
I want them to, but again, we don't have traffic engineers, we don't have geotechs, okay? And that's the responsibility of the developer to kind of address those. But I've never heard of, and never, 20-some years I've been here, we've never required anyone to do any kind of further underground studies other than those related to abandoned mines.
Okay. So another question I have is, I have not been participated in one that I can recall, that we had a study such as this to make a decision upon, the development. And obviously there's individual ones that are more on the engineering side, but not on the planning commission side. So for example, looking at this map, it shows that parts of Weatherstone, parts of Partridge Drive that maybe some other homes are very close to or on.
Sterling Oaks.
Sterling Oaks. But I'm not privy to, I don't know, for example, how deep those mines were, or if a mine study was done prior to, or if there was, concern raised at that point in time. So do you see where I'm getting?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that these mines here under Partridge and Great Oaks Trail, this area was developed, I don't know, 1970s, early 80s maybe. I don't think anything was ever done at that time. But again, I don't know, because typically a developer is going to do due diligence. If there's a mine in it, they want to disclose it. You don't want someone coming back after them. So I don't know what was done 30 or 40 years ago. Over here, when the Saul apartments were built, along with the Home Depot and Walmart. In fact, you can see part of Home Depot is over an abandoned mine. Those studies were done, and they will make, the geotech will make some conclusion. Based on these studies, we feel the roof is X number of feet below ground based on the proposed development project and pattern, and the pressure, surface pressure should not be enough to cause a problem.
And if they I'm assuming, either it was found that the development could sustain it, or
Correct.
if not, they had to
Mitigate
mitigate
right.
it in some way.
So like in this case here, the Saul incident, nothing was done because the study at the time concluded that it's reasonably safe for residential development. Obviously, over a period of time, a certain area, that turned out not to be the case. So mitigation had to take place after the fact, okay? But that's the thing, this is, studies like these are kind of pass-fail. You either meet the requirements for the safety standards, You make the mitigations recommended to make the safety standards, or you fail. In this case, that's the job of the developer to hire their own experts, and this company, Wirtz, is probably one of the better ones. They've done quite a few that I'm aware of in the area. And all we can do is say, okay, this is what the report concluded. Your own report says you need to do this, that, and the other thing. You need to make those improvements and test and verify to that.
Okay. So what I'm gathering is that from the recommendation is basically that the developer would have to, given the report, mitigate, and there obviously there's a cost to that, and there is a process that would have to be, and then that would have to be, let's say, certified.
That would have to be certified and signed off before.
Signed off.
According to those tables. So they have to do some things as part of their civil plan review. They'd have to make other improvements before we even issue a plat for any development.
Where the other option would be is to develop on the areas that are not affected.
Come up with a revised plan that keeps the building lots off of those areas that are clearly identified. I believe the applicants here.
Yeah, well,
so they can.
When we're done talking, I'm going to invite him.
I think I'm done talking. Sorry.
Would the developer? No, sir. Developer, please.
Hello.
Yes, your name and address for the.
Sure. Lori Runyon from Reimer Reserve LLC, 5049 Cottingville Road, Medina, Ohio. We're here tonight asking for preliminary plan approval for the Reimer Reserve Estates. And I want to thank Jeff for all his help. They've been very helpful. I understand the biggest concern seems to be the coal mine issues, and we have contracted with Wirtz GeoCheck. They have gone out there and done their initial reports, which we've submitted to Jeff. They were back on site last week. We're out there all week last week and did some additional testing so that we can get a game plan as far as mitigating and filling in, grouting all of the existing mines that we're locating. I have to tell you, I've learned more about coal mines than I really cared to. But, we feel like we've met all the zoning requirements. We've actually exceeded them. We only had to do with a 75-foot lot. We're making them 78-foot lots to accommodate a bigger, more estate-type home. And if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Any questions for the developer? I don't believe so.
Okay,
All right,
thank
you. I'm observing the map that Mr. Kaiser put up here. Looking at the homes along Partridge Drive, you have to get clear down to the south end where there appears to be about within this development, about 2 homes that are possibly under where they thought there were some mines. But there were no mines up along
Well, let's look at
the east side of this development, which would be the backyards to the backyards of the folks on Partridge Drive.
Yeah, correct. There's some building envelopes. We've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, at the very south end, there's a couple down there.
And then about 1, 2, I'm sorry, I've got this map upside down. Here we go. So we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots near Reimer Road.
Right.
They're affected by the same mine that's also impacting.
Yeah, but that's all within the development.
Right. And then there's the mines here on the south end, looks like it impacts at least 1, 2, 3, 4 lots. The Block B, which is not going to be developed except for a detention basin. Whoops, I forget this. I got to get out of here and get rid of that. Yeah, so again, some of the lots are impacted, some are not. The existing neighborhoods, more homes there are impacted than what would be in this particular project. Again, with this scale, it's hard to see, but you can see that the southern half of Partridge is impacted. Swath of Great Oaks Trail. And again, we already know about some of these up here, and I believe, and this map doesn't go far enough, but I believe, oh, yes, it does. So this is the Northwoods development, I do believe. So there are some mines in that area. So I guess the point is, encountering mines is not unusual in this part of Ohio. What we can do is be aware of them. There may be some that really aren't suitable for development, but most of them, there are mitigation techniques available, again, at a cost, and that's something that the developer and their engineer need to review. Is the cost of mitigation, is that going to negate the ability to sell the lot? If so, then they may need to come up with a revised plan.
Any other comments, Mr. Kaiser?
No, that's it, but I think, again, maybe worth tabling and get some additional feedback from the city engineer. Because
Yeah.
I fear that we're kind of venturing off into areas that are sort of outside of our purview.
Well.
I mean, we go through a process, and that's why we have other agencies review it to make sure that the development is reasonably safe. But when we extend into areas that are not regulated by the city but by other agencies and turn it down for those reasons, I think we're on slippery slope.
Well, I think we should table this and get some more comments from our engineering department about the issues raised in this evening's meeting.
Plus, if the applicant has any additional feedback from the work the geotech is still doing.
Yes, yes,
We'd like to see that.
yeah. If those
Well.
studies have gone, additional studies have been done, then we should know about those too. All right, is there a motion to table?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, I move that we table dealing with the Reimer Reserve subdivision.
Second.
Okay, second.
Second.
Good enough.
Heard the motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye. I said aye.
Aye.
You heard me, right?
Must have said it at the same time.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
at the same time.
Motion carries. Mr. Kaiser, any other business for this meeting this evening?
No, the only thing I need to bring up, however, is that the regular meeting on October 27th will likely have to be postponed and rescheduled. Again, I'm going to be out 8 to 10 days prior to that. I'm not going to have to, and I think I'm leaving about the time Mr. Davis is getting back from vacation.
Okay.
Won't have time to really do any further research, so we will.
You won't have time to
Correct.
prepare your reports.
Once we're both here in this office at the same time, we'll get some of these issues addressed. Hopefully, the applicant can make the changes also that I've recommended for the plan, and we can get all these projects back on track.
The next scheduled meeting then
Next
is
scheduled meeting would be November 10th, but we may be able to,
special
depending on
meeting.
what we've got, we could possibly hold a special meeting some evening.
All right. All right, commissioners, anything else to bring up? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.